Good afternoon, everybody that's in the English 1101 composition and rhetoric for the summer semester of 2025. My name is Patrick Wilson, and I will be your English instructor for the next 10 weeks. So basically, the whole purpose of this video is, in case you're new to online learning, especially when it comes to BBU or Blackboard Ultra, I'm going to show you a little bit how to go through the course material, um, look at some of the stuff that we're going to have to be doing on a weekly basis. If you got my welcome message or email / announcements that I sent out over the weekend, you're probably going to realize that if this is your first time taking a summer semester courses are generally faster than the fall or spring semester courses. Um, Fall and spring are usually 15 weeks, which is roughly about 4 months, give or take. When you add the holidays and some of the breaks in there. Summer semester is a little shorter because we basically have to do what we would do in a 15-week semester and kind of cram it all into a 10-week semester this year. Next year, summer semester is going to be 9 weeks. So, with that in mind, it's going to be kind of fast paced. There's going to be something due pretty much on a regular, end of the week basis. It's just really important that you keep up with the reading material, the assignment deadlines. I try to, cut out a lot of the unnecessary stuff. I don't like to do busy work. I don't like to grade busy work. So the stuff that's up here that's assignment wise that will be counted as a grade, the stuff I will grade is stuff that we have to, sort of do based on standards. Um, so yeah, that's how we're generally going to approach the course. I'm going to talk a little bit about the modulars because what's happened is when you look at the course, it's basically sort of filled out basically in modulars. Modulars mean the same thing as weeks. However, when we look at our course, as I said in my email and my announcements, early on, probably the first month, give or take, we're probably going to have to double up. And what I mean by that is we're going to have to take modular 1 and modular 2 together. That will equal our first modular for the summer. Modular 3, modular 4 would be modular 2 for the summer. Modular 5, modular 6 would be modular 3 for the summer. So it's like we're doing 2 modulars in 1 week. Or another way to look at it is we're doing like 2 weeks worth of work in 1 week. And we're going to have to do that pretty much up until about midterm, which would be about the middle of June. And then things start to slow down a little bit for us because we get into the research paper aspect of the course where we're only having to do maybe 1 modular per week at that point, give or take. There might be a couple modulars in there that we sort of combine because they sort of go together. And that's why we would have to approach it in that particular way. So what I'm going to show you a little bit, because a lot of this stuff, I think as you read through it, it's pretty self-explanatory. If there's any dual enrollment students, if you just graduated or you're sort of still in high school, some of this stuff as it relates to the grammar aspect and some of the essay aspect is probably going to be review. So in a lot of ways, I mean, if you know how to do a good bit of this stuff, or if you've already done a good bit of this stuff, you can kind of review it and skim over some of it. If it's been a while since you've done any of this stuff, or if English is just not really your forte, then you may need to spend a little bit more time devoted to whatever section that you're going to need a little bit more time to devote to be successful. The book is a open resource, open educational resource, or an OER, and I'll show you where you can find that out. But I'll also show you how you can use some of the hyperlinks because they're really the videos and the hyperlinks in there are sort of supplemental material. They sort of go hand in hand with the reading, meaning you're going to look at modular 1 and modular 2 and think, oh God, there's a lot of stuff here. But a lot of that is it's just reiterating some of the stuff. Like if you read the textbook material and you still need additional information, well, go to this hyperlink or look at this video. So in a lot of ways, you don't have to read everything or listen to everything per se, but if you don't have a good grasp of it or a good handle of it, then I would use that material as another stepping stone to be able to master that particular material. Because really, when it boils down to, it's going to be the essays that are going to be a big part of your grade here. So you want to do really well on those. And we will sort of talk through that a little bit. Again, I mean, if you're able to read the information for the most part is pretty clear. You can always email me and ask me questions. If you're in the Camden County area, we can always set up something, an in-person tutoring session. I think I have some office and tutoring hours on the syllabus. We'll look at that. We can also do something like we're doing here. We can set up an appointment as a Teams meeting, and we can meet that way if that's easier. Some things we can answer and, I can address via email, but a lot of other times you may need to have that, that one-on-one, or, you can come in as a group. There's about 25 students, I think, in the course. If need be, we can try to do a big Teams meeting of all 25 or 10 or 12 or whatever the case may be. The problem is trying to schedule a meeting that will fit in everybody's schedule, because I'm sure a lot of y'all, because it is summer, are doing a good bit of other things. You may be taking other courses. You may be trying to do vacations and that type stuff. You have kids like I do. I got 2 young daughters who, last week in Glenn County schools before the summer hits, you may be working part-time, full-time, multiple jobs. So it's really kind of hard to get everybody online all at once. But I mean, I guess it's possible. We can easily try to find a good time. I can tell you Mondays and Wednesdays are probably the best times for me because I don't really have any in-person classes on Mondays or Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm pretty much booked between about 8 and 1. So if we do anything on Tuesdays or Thursdays, it would be definitely after 1 o'clock, depending on my office and tutoring hours go. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to get rid of me and I'm going to share my screen because it looks exactly, for the most part, what you would see on your Blackboard course page. There's going to be some things that's going to be visible for me that's not visible for you, and that's fine. What you see at this point is pretty much probably what you need. I try not to overwhelm a whole lot here in the summer just because I know it is compressed, but there is, there's a certain amount of stuff we have to cover to be able to meet our standards. So let me get rid of me and I will share the screen. Momentarily. Okay. So when you click into your Blackboard, you should be able to see this. A lot of times it could be, some of this stuff could be, like this. You're going to have to find that arrow. So the first thing you probably need to do, which most of you, it looks like at least half of the students so far, nearly it's 5 o'clock on the first day, have looked at the syllabus. There's that welcome message. You can kind of look at that. You can look at the announcements. This is where the announcements are. Generally, I have announcements set up for each week, for each modular. You should get it not only via the announcement page, but also through your student email. You're going to need to use your Office 365 email, the one that the college pretty much provides to you as a student. That's how we're going to communicate. So if you're using some other email If you're using a Hotmail or a Yahoo or a Gmail, I can't guarantee that I will receive your message based on the firewalls that our college have put up. Sometimes I do receive them. Sometimes I won't receive them until weeks down the road, and sometimes I won't receive them at all. Um, so I will show you sort of it's in your Ultra or your Okta page where you'd find your email and that type stuff. So you definitely want to use that when you're emailing me. So when we look at here, you want to start with the welcome, click here to start, hit that arrow to go down. Again, you can kind of look at the welcome message. Here's the syllabus. This is your course textbook. This is that OER e-text I was talking about. So when you see page numbers in your modular, I'm referring to this particular textbook. Anywhere that you can access the Blackboard, meaning anywhere that you have internet, you have access to this textbook. This is really the only textbook we have for the course. There is a MLA 9 handout or a handbook. I will show you that here momentarily. But this is the only textbook that we have. Depending on your internet, it may take a few minutes to load. But as you can tell, you can scroll through this, look at your table of contents for the pages. Be careful because generally when I say, when I give you page numbers, I give you the page numbers on the actual document, not the page numbers that are sort of provided for you in the PDF. As you can tell, page 7 is different because it says page 12 here. So when you see page numbers and modulars, I'm referring to the page numbers that are basically on your document, not the ones that the PDF sort of provided for you. We will look through this particular textbook when it comes to, some of the writing essays that you're going to have to do, the types, the genres, or what we call rhetorical modes. You will also find some stuff toward the end about grammar. So if you're not really up to speed with your grammar, you might want to spend a little bit of attention and some time with that. You don't have to do all these exercises. Again, like I said, that's what I think is a lot of busy work with this textbook. I will let you know if you need to do any exercises from the book, usually on announcements or email. If I start seeing a lot of problems, with topic sentences, students can't do a topic sentence correctly, or a thesis statement, or they can't correct a fragment or a run-on, or a dangling modifier, or use commas and that type stuff. That would be where you might want to use some of this additional information as it relates to, additional exercises and that type stuff. But don't think that you have to do all of them, because there's plenty in this particular textbook. And if there's 25 people in the class, I'm not going to grade all these exercises. There's too much. I got, a few other courses, 11 English 1105, that's business and technical writing. I just don't have the time to grade everybody's exercises in this. So that's why, I don't really assign all these exercises. What I would say, I would pay attention to, stuff that's highlighted. If it's colored, look at it. If it's in a chart like this is, or a graph, or bold-faced, I would pay probably attention to a good bit of that stuff. But again, when it comes to the exercises, if you want to do them, that's fine. If you got time to do some of them, or if you think you need to do some of them to sort of help you, I don't mind checking some of it or telling you, hey, you're in the right direction. You just have to sort of give me the exercise that you're doing and the page numbers, because as you're going to notice, this textbook, you can do all these exercises, but how do you know you're doing them right? There's no answer key to it. So you're going to have to reach out either to, a tutor, me as your instructor, or tutor.com. And we'll talk a little bit about that. That's a free online 24/7 tutoring service that the college offers. for about 10 hours. There's like 10 free hours that you have, and then after that, it wants to charge you. So you want to be selective about when you use it. Um, you can also use it for math and other courses. But yeah, for in a nutshell, this is our textbook. So getting out of here, this is that handbook I was talking about. And of course, it's not there, so I'm gonna have to find it again. So for right now, anything that's MLA related, I will send out as a handout or a video. I will see if I can find another MLA 9 free edition online. Where it's going to be more important that we have something like this is when we get into the research aspect of the course, how to quote, how to paraphrase, how to do a works cited page, the annotated bibliography, that type stuff. So for right now, don't fret. I will see if I can find something equivalent to go in that place. Um, you might need to use this if this is the first time that you've ever used a Blackboard Ultra. You can click on there. There's probably a couple of handouts or videos or that type nature that you can probably go through and review. Hopefully, at some point before you enrolled into this particular class, you had some Blackboard training or like an orientation from the college to kind of help you maneuver through some of this stuff. Here's the tutoring, tutor.com. You click on that, follow the instructions that tell you how to do certain things. On my end, it's going to have something different. But on yours, it's probably going to ask you several questions to sort of get started. Um, when we get more into the research aspect of the course, you're probably going to need to use this librarian live chat. But really, that's the nutshell. That and this is simple syllabus. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going through this because I know I'm not going to insult your intelligence. If you're taking this course 1101, you probably know how to read. I will sort of hit the high notes here. Um, because this is online, my particular home campus is Camden County. So I'm in St. Mary's, Kingsland area at the Coastal Pines campus here. This class is strictly 100% online. So as you can tell here, here's the course description. Basically, 1101 English is pretty much that core requirement that you need to be able to make a C or higher to move on to pretty much any other course that you take in college. It doesn't matter whether you're taking it from a technical or college like we are. If you're taking that CCGA, Georgia Southern, you go out of state somewhere in Texas and go to that college, you go to another online course or school, you take, classes over at Oxford in England, you're definitely going to have to take an equivalent of this 1101 course at some juncture in your career. And usually it's early on because you need the scholarly and academic writing to be able to move forward in a lot of these upper level courses, to be able to think critically, to be able to think analytically, to be able to write critically and analytically, to be able to do it so it's in an academic format, that it's formal. You're avoiding a lot of the slang and the informal writing. A lot of this stuff, again, if you did K through 12, you did a lot of this type of stuff moving along as it relates to the grammar. Grammar hasn't really changed. Um, it's not like a particular medical course where science does change on a regular basis. Grammar doesn't really change. A comma was still a comma today in 2025 as it was in 1865. Um, the writing, the type of essays that we're going to do. Um, we start first with the descriptive narrative writing. Then we move on to more of a rhetorical analysis, um, dealing with some compare and contrast. We may look at some extended definition type writing, and then we get into more of the stuff that you would think 1101 would deal with, would be the research base. writing. We look at how to write a proposal, how to do an annotated bib, which deals with using research sources from Galileo and various databases. And then you come and write a 6 to 8 page research paper. And we're all going to get to that. So you don't necessarily have to worry about that at this point. I hope at some point before this class, you have written a college level research paper. A lot of times you do this in 11th and 12th grade in high school, depending on if you're taking AP courses or college prep. If you haven't had a chance really to write a proper research paper, then I'm going to show you how to do it. Because again, as you move along in your academic career, you're probably going to be needing to write more than to really read and take a test on something. So that's why it's important, because a lot of times when students, get their C or higher in this course, they have to take the next course, which is English 1102. And that deals a lot more with the literature stuff, short stories, novels, poetry, and drama, where you're going to apply what you should have learned in 1101. You apply that knowledge and skill set to 1102, but now you go a little bit at a higher degree, because now you're analyzing literature and that type stuff. So that's basically the course description. We're going to teach you how to become successful academic college writers, that you can take these skills that you learn in this class and adapt them to and use them in other classes that require you to read critically and analytically, and to also write critically and analytically. Again, that's our textbook. We have it online. As it gets closer to midterm, you're going to need to read this stuff about respondents, because we're on a 100% online course. If this is your first time taking a 100% online course, you're going to have to go through and read this particular section. Even if you already took an online course from us in the past, let's say during the spring semester, and you had to do respondents, and you kind of know what you need to do. But you want to read this information and click on these hyperlinks to be able to read additional information, because as it gets closer to the middle of June, you're going to have to, one of your particular essays, I think it's going to be your third essay, you're going to have to do a 60-minute, from scratch, using the Respondus program that I'm going to show you how to go and download it. You're going to have to use a webcam and web mic and all this other stuff. But I will give you the topics kind of ahead, in advance. You'll be able to use an outline or note cards. The only thing you're not going to be able to use on that particular essay, because it's a one and done thing, is you can't already have a pre-written rough draft already saved or written anywhere. You're going to have to do that particular essay by scratch, using only, your outline and your note cards, and only having 1 hour to type it and submit it and proofread and edit. It's a one and done thing. It's really a pressure cooker to see how well you can write under pressure. And it's something that every online class has to offer some sort of a respondus event. Some courses offer more than one. Usually I just offer the one, and it's usually around midterm or final. And I found that it's a little easier to do it when it's around midterms, instead of sort of that last week of the semester where everybody's sort of burned out and going kind of nuts trying to turn everything in. So you can come back to this and kind of read the stuff about respondus again as it gets closer. I'll give you some more information, but you probably want to go ahead and kind of download some of this stuff and read some of this stuff before we get into the middle of June. This is my information again. This is my office number, is 1214. It's on the second floor if you're over in Camden. My office hours right now are going to be Monday and Wednesday, 8 to 9, Tuesday, Thursday, 4 to 5. Of course, I have other classes basically Tuesday, Thursday, but like I said, I'm pretty much wide open Monday and Wednesday. We're just required to at least do 4 hours per week of office. That's not to say I can't do additional if need be. But if you can't make the 8 to 9 Monday and Wednesday, then you need to email me and we need to set up an appointment. If you want to meet in person, or if you want to do something via Teams. which, as you can tell, my tutoring days and times, in-person tutoring is going to be 11 a.m. to noon. That's either going to be in my classroom, which is going to be 1216, or downstairs in the library. And then I will do by Teams appointment. If you need help, some virtual tutoring Tuesdays and Thursdays, 3 to 4. Now, if nobody requests the help or nobody requests that they want to do any virtual tutoring, then I'm not going to, sit up on Teams thinking and waiting on people to show up if nobody's going to show. Because as the semester gets moving along, I'm going to have classes where I can spend some time prepping and grading and answering emails and that type stuff. Here are some additional learning outcomes. Sort of the standards for the particular, for this college, for this course, for the state. Again, you can kind of read through these. Classroom procedures, we're pretty much, we're online, so you probably not have to really pay too much attention to some of these. As it relates to the plagiarism and the using AI and that type of stuff, then yes, you probably want to read about that. We don't need to have folks using AI to write our essays or, answer any of these, peer review questions, or you don't want to plagiarize. You don't want to pass off somebody else's work and claim it as your own. Because there are serious offenses for that. The first time you get caught cheating, plagiarizing, using AI, it's going to be a 0 on that particular assignment. The second time you do it, it's an F in the course, no matter what your grade is. And pretty much at that point, we're probably going to have to, level up and go to the vice president and the president, and we're going to have to sit down and have a panel. And then, I'm going to provide the information and the proof that I have, the reason why you made the F in the course because you plagiarized or used AI for a paper. And then it's going to be really up to that panel to decide whether you are suspended for a couple of semesters, couple years, or you're just barred from coming to this college. So it is a serious deal, and it goes on your transcript. So if you try to go somewhere else, they're going to know based on your transcript, social security number, and all that stuff. So usually I probably have several each semester that try to use AI or try to plagiarize or buy a paper, and they get caught, and usually that's the end of it. They realize a 0 hurts their grade, which it does. Basically, each 0 that you make in this course is going to drop your semester grade by 20 points. So let's say that everybody sort of starts out with 100, right? So if you make a 0 because you don't turn in that first assignment, or you cheat on it or plagiarize it, now your grade goes from what should be 100 to an 80. And if you're foolish enough to, let's say miss an assignment this time, well, that's going to be another 20 points. So from an 80, you go to a 60. So within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it could be very possible that you can go from an A to a D in about a 2 week time. And about a 3 week time, you can go from an A to an F. Because if you get one more 0, it's going to knock you down to about a 40, depending on what your other grades are. So I will say, definitely if you get 3 or more 0s, you might as well try to withdraw from the class, because there's no way that you're probably going to be able to pull that up to a 70 or higher if your grade is a 32. I would be caution about getting 2 or more 0s at that point, because like I said, it's going to bring you down 20 points. So if you get 2 0s, it's basically bringing you down 40 points if you do the math. The math doesn't lie. So just be mindful of that. I know it's summer. I know some of y'all wanting to, do this and do that. Just keep in mind the course is going to keep moving along no matter what you do. If you go on vacation, that's fine, but make sure that you keep up with the reading and the deadlines. Because I'm not going to, be out here trying to hunt down 15 or 16 people because they're taking a cruise, or, they're going to California, or they're going to France, or they're getting married, whatever the case may be. You knew some of this stuff was coming up before enrolling in this course. I just can't stop the course because several people want to go on vacation. Hey, I'm going on vacation, at the beginning of July. So, I mean, I still have to get my work done and everything. So there's not going to be any way to halt or to stop time in the summer semester. You're just going to have to keep up with the pace of the course. And if you feel like you can't, then I would, think about withdrawing before it gets too chaotic for you, overwhelming. Um, because otherwise you're just going to find yourself getting lost and getting behind week after week, and that's not a fun feeling to get. As it relates to emails and stuff, usually like I said, my work schedule is Monday through Thursday. It's generally 7:30 to 6. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we have off. The colleges are closed. Um, if there's a holiday or something of that nature, we're going to be closed. Generally, there's going to be information on the web homepage for the college, or Facebook page, or Twitter. I will send out information if something, if there's going to be, a holiday or something of that nature. But because we're online, that doesn't really impact us as much. I mean, we got Memorial Day coming up next Monday. You can still work um, that Monday on stuff because we're not meeting in person, so to say. If you choose not to not to work on Monday, hey, that's your time. I mean, obviously you can take Memorial Day off. It is a holiday, but just know that you got 6 days now to get whatever's due that particular week. So what I would suggest is that you work smarter and not harder. Don't wait until, 2 days or a day or a couple hours before things are due. Because I mean, some folks think they can work really well under pressure, and some can, and that's fine. If you're one of those types, great. A lot of folks can't, and when they start feeling the pressure, a lot of things start to suffer. Their health starts to suffer, or the courses start to suffer, their family life, job life starts to suffer. It just becomes a really big headache if you wait until the last minute to do some of this stuff when you have time to do it. Um, so I will try to respond to your email if it's during the week within a 24-hour period, depending on what time you send it. I mean, obviously, if you send it at 8 o'clock at night, because I'm not at work, I'm off at that point, you're probably not going to get a reply until the next day. If it happens to be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it could be 2 days before I respond to you. If it's something easy and quick, I can respond within, a couple minutes, and I don't have anything pressing like a class or something going on. Generally, you probably get something back within an hour. Um, Rough drafts when it comes to peer reviews. I encourage folks to send me rough drafts of their essays. The more eyes that look at your particular work, generally the better the final draft will be, and so will be your grade. Again, that's optional. You don't have to send me rough drafts if you don't want to, but I will tell you, I've been doing this for over 10 years, and it seems like the students that do send me rough drafts and get help with their drafts, and sometimes it's multiple rough drafts. Um, because your first draft is probably not going to get you that A. It's very rarely do I see really polished first drafts that get anything above a C. So you're going to need to send multiple rough drafts, or at least go through multiple rough drafts. Use tutor.com when we do the peer review sessions during our modulars. Make sure that you have a peer that is really about trying to help you just as you are trying to help them. Because again, it's really a process here. It's going to take time, especially for those that maybe haven't written a formal essay in a number of years. So, I mean, you're just going to have to be thinking in reality and being, realistic about if you're not a great writer, you're going to have to take some time with this. This stuff is just not, you're not going to be Shakespeare overnight. You're not going to be Shakespeare in 10 weeks. But if writing was something that you just didn't like, I hope we can, over the process or over the course of these 10 weeks, improve your mentality on that so you can get better grades. Um, Student attendance is really not attendance. I mean, really, the attendance is whatever is due. So if you're not turning stuff in, obviously your grade's going to suffer. I generally don't do late work unless it's just an extenuating extreme circumstance. You're in the hospital, you have COVID or something. But then I need to see documentation. You need to reach out to me. You don't have to go through and give me a 55-page novella about what's going on, but I do need to know something when you start to figure out something that's going on your end. Don't wait 5 weeks down the road and just start coming back. Oh, I noticed I missed 5 weeks worth of. Yeah, you did, but you didn't let me know until, after midterm. So there's just no way I'm going to be able to let you go back and make up 6 weeks worth of work. Um, as it gets closer to the end of July, the whole deal, of late work and that type stuff, that's going to be hard to do because July 31st is our last day. They're only giving us one day for finals this semester. So, I mean, if you wait until July and start asking, hey, can I do this and do that? I'm probably going to tell you no, just because there's not enough time and I got other classes I got to grade and get in. Um, you can read the information about attendance and withdrawal here. This is the grade scheme. I basically go on a 10 point increment. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C. Pretty much everybody wants a C or higher in the course. 60 to 69 is a D, which is really not passing depending on your program of study. And of course, if you get 0 to 59, that's an F. I do round up at the end of the semester when I turn in final grades. So if you have an 89.6, I will round that up to a 90. So you would have an A in the class. However, if you have a 79.4, I will round that down to just a 79. So you would have a high C in the course. It just makes the grade book a little easier. Usually how I break down the grades, you have MSA, which are major stake assignments, essay one, two, three, midterm, research paper assignments. They make up about 70% of your grade collectively. Low stake assignments, LSA, quizzes or anything else that's not a major assignment make up 30%. That's how you get the 100%. You may have some opportunity to get some extra credit throughout the semester. I try to offer a little bit. I'll win and where I can. But just kind of keep in mind that's going to be time sensitive if I can. So if I do offer it, I would go ahead and even if you don't think you might need it, because it's obviously going to be optional. You don't have to do the extra credit if you don't want to. Most students like to do it because it offers cushion to their grade as we get closer to the end of the semester. So when I do offer it, I would take advantage of trying to get it done then, or at least within the time frame, because like I said, we only have 10 weeks and I can't just keep these assignments open. Otherwise, nothing would get really done and nothing would be graded on time. So you can kind of read this information about academic cheating, academic falsification when it comes to forms and answers and that type of stuff. Academic plagiarism, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Some of the penalties, we just talked about that. Obviously, AI stuff um, is in there. Copyright notice. You can kind of look at some of this other stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to go through everything, every single thing here. Some numbers for police, but the big thing that you probably want to kind of keep in mind is our course schedule. This is sort of how it's going to go. It's a tentative schedule. Things are subject to change. Again, if something comes up, I will let you know by email announcement. So, but for right now, this is sort of how we're going. I give you the holidays. I tell you what sort of due as it relates to due dates. I give you the weeks. I give you the modulars. So I'd pay close attention to this because this is going to tell you what is due and when it's due. And this is too, I'm gonna have to go through and kind of rearrange this because as you can kind of tell, it's blending in some stuff from previous semesters. So for right now, just go by what's right here. I will get this cleaned up a little bit in the coming days so it will make better sense. Generally, if it has a date on it, like it does here, I mean, obviously, if you look, we're in May 2025. We're not in the year 2024. So obviously, if you see that stuff, that's probably not going to make too much sense to you right now. But like I said, bear with me. I will get that sort of adjusted and fixed so it makes sense. But until then, you can kind of just refer back to the due dates here. If you go to your actual course page and look at your modulars. So what I have right now, I have opened up modular 1 and modular 2 because they basically make up that first week. Some things may blend over into next week, but you want to start with the first modular. Again, you want to click down. You do have a syllabus quiz. This is going to be your first graded assignment. It's also sort of a verification. Hey, you are enrolled in the course, but you haven't took this first quiz. So come next week, if you haven't took a quiz and got a grade on this assignment, you're going to be dangerously close to being a no-show, which basically is we're going to drop you from the class because you haven't done anything. So just just logging in and looking at the stuff and looking at the syllabus, you're going to have to do a little bit more than that to be counted as a participant the first week. So if you look, this kind of tells you what narrative and descriptive modular is going to be about. You click here. This is where you're going to find some of the readings. This is textbook readings, but like I said, a lot of these hyperlinks sort of go to supplemental readings of the textbook. So if you click here, you'll find similar information in that textbook. So this could be just easier for you to kind of read through this. Again, some of the stuff you may know. You don't necessarily have to do all these exercises. You can kind of look at some of these examples. But this might be helpful because it's really not, that lengthy or that long. You just have to go through the motion of doing it. I do give you some videos. So after you read that, if you still need some additional help, watch the videos or watch the videos first, then go back and look at the hyperlink. So you have a little bit of a couple things that you can do. You can go to the OER first. Like I said, usually the OER and the hyperlinks are going to be sort of similar in the information. So you may just have to pick one or the other. You don't necessarily have to keep reading both because you're probably going to say, well, this information sounds just like I just read, which it does. So that's why I say if you want to just strictly do the OER, then you can kind of focus on these page numbers. If you are more of a, hey, let me just click on these hyperlinks, see what it is, and if I need additional information, then either I go back to the OER or look at these videos, that's fine as well. You know your own learning style. That's why I offer stuff online, stuff out of the OER, and then stuff as a more or less a visual aid with video and audio. The videos, they're gonna go, some of them can be kind of lengthy, some of them can be very short. So you want to kind of keep that in mind, depending on the time that you have throughout the week, watching, reading, and listening to these. But this one covers some of the grammar. It gets you into, narrative writing because that's basically what we're going to be looking at, the narrative descriptive. So click on the things, read what you need to read, skim what you need to skim, listen to what you need to listen to, but you have everything here for you to be successful. Now, again, that's not to say that, hey, I'm still struggling, I still need some help. You need to reach out, email me, come to office hours. Let's do Teams tutoring. Let's do in-person tutoring. I'm here to help you, but I can't read minds. So this would be the quiz. You click on that and you follow through it. It's 10 questions relating to the course syllabus. So if you really read the syllabus and looked at the syllabus, then you should be able to ace the first assignment of the course. Should be a very easy A, I hope, for everybody. Obviously, if you don't read the syllabus or if you skim too fast, you're probably not going to get that easy A. Modular 2, this gets into more of sort of next week. Same deal. We have a peer review that's going to be due by the 27th of May, which that's going to be coming up really not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. So you have about, 8 days to get that uploaded. And really what the peer review is, it's going to be whatever you choose to write your essay on. And if you click here, this is where you find your essay one topics. Um, Scroll down. This gives you the information, how long it needs to be, the format, that type stuff. I will give you some information about the MLA 9 format. I'll probably send some stuff out before the end of the week so you can have something there. I give you some information about the when the rough draft is due, and then the final draft is going to be due by June 1st. Um, so you definitely want to, go through that. There might be some information in here about MLA. I believe there is. Yes, this is the format. You want to watch this video, and it will tell you how to format your essays in MLA 9, because that's basically what we're using. We're not using APA. We're not using Chicago or Harvard or Yale. We're using MLA 9. So you need to watch this video, and it will tell you, it will explain to you how to format your essay. There's actually a free template already in your Microsoft Word. You should have the latest version of Word. If you get into your Office 365 account, you have Word, a free version of Word there. And I will show you real quick because I don't want this thing to go too lengthy. Um, but this is what your Office 365, your email will look like. So to find the free version of Word, you're going to go over here to where it says More Apps. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to go to Word, just click on it, and it's going to take you basically to go to create a document. Now, if you do have Word on your desktop or your laptop, tablet maybe, then you're probably going to have more features to use there than you would just on the cloud version. But you need to, type your essay on Word, and you need to upload your essay using Word. If you use a PDF, I can read PDFs, but that's about all I can do. I can't mark them up. I can't give you feedback. I can't give you any comments. Only thing I can do is read them and give them a grade. So if you're not really, if you don't care about the feedback, which most people like the feedback, because if you didn't do so well on essay one, you want to make sure that you do better on essay two and avoid the same mistakes maybe. You're going to want me to have feedback, on your rough drafts, on your final drafts, because that's the whole deal with the writing process. That's how you're going to get better, is to, use that feedback to help you. I think that's about it. You just have to go through modular one and modular two and kind of read what's there. Like I said, um, it's gonna, if you're not used to the fast pace, you're gonna have to hopefully you're not a procrastinator, because procrastination is not going to be your friend in this course, or really any course that's 10 weeks long. So you need to make up some sort of a timetable or a time schedule on your end that will fit your needs to be able to, accomplish everything that you need, not only for this course, but for whatever else that you're taking and doing. Um, Again, this is not one of these courses that should, occupy all your time this summer, but if you wait until the last minute, it's going to feel like it's going to occupy a lot of your time when it really shouldn't. Again, you want to work smarter, not harder. Um, and in the end, reach out if you need some help. I'm here to help you. I don't mind helping you. I don't bite. Like I said, I just can't read minds. So I want to assume if you don't reach out and ask for help, that everybody knows what they're doing until I start grading stuff. And then I'm going to say, well, this person doesn't really know how to, write a paragraph, but they had weeks to get help and they never emailed me, they never called me, never scheduled a, in-person or virtual tutoring meeting. So there's only so much I can do. We're all adults at this point. There's a lot of things going on in the world. We're all busy. But again, somebody's paying for this course, whether you're paying it out of pocket or whether mommy and daddy's paying for it or whether, Hope or Pell's paying for it. Again, you want to pass it the first time around with a C or higher. You don't want to have to take this course um, somewhere else, fork out that money. And, if you go somewhere else and have to retake it, you may have to buy several books Or here you only have that one book and it's free. Um, so I mean, again, this is one of those courses. If you go through, go through and do the motions and do the work and ask for the help and get stuff done on time. Yes, it's not going to be necessarily easy if you're not an English person as it relates to writing and that type stuff. But again, you don't want to. I hear folks having to take college algebra 4 or 5 times. You don't want to be that person that has to take English 1101 4 or 5 times. I usually approach the course at a medium level, meaning if you prepare, you get your stuff done, you ask the questions, you don't wait last minute, then a lot of the stuff should be very, very easy. So it goes from medium to easy for you because you're doing what you need to do. If you're one of those that, oh, English, I always did really well in English in middle school and high school, so I can just breeze on through or try to use AI and try to, maybe he's not going to catch me. Sometimes I don't catch everybody, sometimes I do. We do have checkers. But if you approach it thinking that, hey, I can do this because my first language is English, and you just get kind of lazy because it's summer and you don't want to really do any work, and the whole reason why you took it online because you're thinking it's going to be easy, then you may get a sort of a rude awakening as we get later in the semester because I'm sure there's going to be some things that you probably didn't do in high school that you're going to need to know how to do to be able to pass this course. So I wouldn't get too complacent as we get closer to the 4th of July. Because that's usually where I see a lot of folks. We go on that little summer break. They go to Margaritaville or wherever the case may be, Cancun, and they come back and they don't know what the heck is going on because they haven't turned anything in. And here it is. Because once we come back from that summer break in July, things are going to move by quickly. Because I think we come back on the 7th of July. The semester ends the 31st. So, I mean, you look at it right there, you don't have a whole lot math wise to be able to pull up a grade if you really fail. I will try to do videos as often as I can. I generally will try to do at least one weekly video, sort of go over some of the material as much as I can. I mean, this one will probably be the one for this week. So I'm kind of just going to give everybody a chance to go through, read the syllabus, look at the stuff from modular 1 and 2. I'm just going to see the demand. If there's a lot of demand for more videos, then I'll try to squeeze some stuff in. Because again, if you look at a lot of the videos in the modulars, there's already tons of hyperlinks and handouts and page numbers and videos there that you can click on. Um, I don't necessarily want to overwhelm anybody with a bunch of videos. Um, but I will try to at least do one lecture video from me. Um, Try to do it at least once a week if possible. It could be early on in the week, like a Monday or a Wednesday. It could be later, toward that Thursday deadline as well. So I look forward to working with everybody. I hope everybody had a great spring semester if you took any courses during the spring. And hopefully your summer will go well. Again, at this point how much time you're really going to need to spend on some of these classes just by your skill level and your ability. Some of y'all are math people and you're not really into the reading, not really into the writing, the typing, and that's understandable. Some of you are into the reading, into the typing and the writing. They're not so much math people. That's sort of what makes us unique in a lot of ways. We're not all 100%. Not everybody can do math and English at the same time. That type of physics or anything like that. But just take each day at a time. Do a little bit each time. Maybe devote maybe an hour each day to this class until you get into a rhythm or a routine where, hey, maybe you don't need to do an hour each day. Maybe you only need to do 30 minutes. Maybe you need to do 3 hours each day, depending on, what you're grasping and what you're not grasping. But I'm sure as we move along, you're going to start getting into a routine that's going to be beneficial and that's going to work for you and hopefully make you successful, not only in this course, but in your other courses as well. So with that, I'm going to keep it about 60 minutes. Some videos will be about an hour, some maybe will be a little bit more, some maybe a little bit less. But being that this is the first week, this probably is about, what you would get if you came to an in-person class, give or take. That, is going to be 75, 90 minutes. This would be sort of the same spiel you would get there. All right. So until either you email me or you request maybe a tutoring session or an office hour, whatever the case may be, chances are you probably will see the next video probably midweek next week, because remember, Monday is Memorial Day. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a good first week and a great Monday, and I will talk to you directly.